and you are watching us. I'm going to see uh, what the feedback is from everyone on. We've never had that one happen. When we usually go on, we go on. But let's see where people are watching us from right now. And before we get too deep into the show, I will see if anyone is catching us. Um, Forgive me while I do this because we do not have a producer tonight. And I haven't had anybody say they're not getting us, which is not a good sign either. Um, it looks like we have one person coming in. Let's see where. All right, I think we're okay, actually. All right, well, we're back, and I'm sorry we had a little bit of a technical snafu at the beginning of the show. Hopefully, people will find us again. I'm starting to see them rack up there. That is good to know. So let me try to we'll quickly uh, restart the show, as they say. Um, so for those who are just joining us, sorry we're a few minutes late, but there was a connection problem with our beautiful internet. But welcome to the Park Theater and Park TV's Monadnock tonight. It is Thursday, December 3rd, 2020. It's about 5 p.m. here on the East Coast, and this is show number 58. And it's overcast and crisp 38 degrees. Uh, I'm Steve Jackson, CEO of the Park Theater and your host. And we're very glad you can join us because today we have a very special guest. Some could call him the king of fireworks, and many other hats. And we have much more information, and part of that information is a few notes on what's happening at the Park Theater. And with the holidays up upon us, we see Sarah Bergeron. Sarah Pelkey Bergeron says, "I'm watching." So that's a good sign. That is a very good sign. People are joining us. I'm just looking at the comments to the side. Thanks for letting us know, Sarah. Well, the holidays are upon us, and they're certainly not business as usual. We really don't have to. That's what we've been doing for 58 shows, is talking about the issues of COVID. Does not stop us here at the Park Theater to try to find some great holiday entertainment that we have in store for you, and we do. First, we have our own production. There are several films that I think people never grow tired of during the holidays, and it's a handful. That you can watch again and again and again. And one of them is most definitely the 1946 Frank Capra classic with Jimmy Stewart and Donna Reed, and It's a Wonderful Life. And what happened around 14 years ago, a playwright named Joe Landry kind of reimagined how could you take that to theater. And he rewrote it slightly, that it takes place at a New York radio station in the 1940s. And they are going to do, as they did in the 40s, they're going to do a reading of the movie It's a Wonderful Life with an assembly of actors and sound effects people, just like, good old time 1940s radio. And so he wrote this as a show. It's been played, all over the world, but it's kind of perfect when we're kind of zooming people in and out to do this kind of radio station approach read to it. So here is this is the poster for it, and Park Theater presents It's a Wonderful Life, a live radio play by Joe Landry, and the classic holiday story of George Bailey. And I think when you look at that list go through our cast, you'll know many of these names. Brian Dozer is actually going to be our sound effects props man. Jocelyn DeFord and John Manning. If you're fans and went to the River Street Theater here at the Park Theater back in the fall of 2018, you would have seen them in a remarkable production of a play called First Night. And actually, John approached us about doing It's a Wonderful Life. And he's brought Jocelyn, his co star from First Night, to be with him. And we also have Kathy Manfrey and Caitlin Manfrey. We have Ken Sheldon and Michael Dix Thomas. And in an interesting turn, Lisa Bosner, who's star of New York stage, screen, and in motion pictures, is going to actually direct this production. And we're doing it live. It will be live online Friday, December 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But that showing will be taped, and there'll be encore showings the following day. We're hoping that ticketing will go on sale starting tomorrow, and we hope you'll be part of that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Live stuff like we just had happen, the snafu with me here. You're always good for a snafu in live, but we'll prepare for it. And but it's an incredible cast, incredible director, wonderful story. It's funny, it's charming, it's heartfelt. I think you're going to really enjoy it. And you'll be able to get a ticket and watch it online, and you'll be able to beam it up to your smart TV if you want to see it on a big screen TV. So all those details will be at Facebook and through some email blasts coming out. So that's number one. Number two is we are going to present, and if you read the New York Times, you would have read about this production on Sunday's New York Times. This is a production from the Geffen Playhouse and the La Jolla Playhouse, two of the very fine regional professional theater companies in the United States. And they have mounted a production of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol with Tony Award-winning actor Jefferson Mays. Now, this particular production was designed, it's a one-man show, but a lot of theatrical money, I should say, money has been spent. I mean, it's really, you see it, they've really not spared any production value in this, and you see it. And I'm going to show you a very short clip, a trailer for it. So why don't we do that first? Why don't you just take a look? This is A Christmas Carol starring Jefferson Mays, and we'll tell you more about it, and it'll be self-explanatory. And here we go.
Old Marley was as dead as a doornail. And this must be distinctly understood, or nothing wonderful can come of the story I am going to relate.
Sorry. That's definitely what is called a teaser. But as I say, Tony Award-winning actor Jefferson Mays, Tony Award-winning director. It's an incredible production. I will have longer clips of it. It's a great way to bring the family together at home and watch, again, one of these classic stories that never grows old, and has elements and themes that are as relevant today as they were back then when Dickens wrote it, and it came out, and obviously a continued huge success every single year, and it's been produced so many times on film, so many theaters. It's been written about. So we are going to present that to you. You can be able to buy tickets. It's being ticketed by household. Again, we may have it up for ticketing by tomorrow. And that one will be able to be as soon as we probably will debut. I don't have the day yet because we just negotiated the deal to get it here. But the good news about that one particular show is it'll probably go live either this weekend or the beginning of next week, and then you can buy a ticket for that and watch it anytime. And you get 24 hours, typical kind of on demand. You get 24 hours to watch it, but you'll be able to buy tickets and watch it anytime up until January 3rd. So, and anytime you want to watch it, you can watch it at 8 p.m. or 8 a.m. But more information will be coming about that show. Now, and I can also tell you in my discussions about what's going on, and we had some pre-rehearsals and kicking the tires to make sure the equipment works right with our guest, Steve Pelkey, earlier this afternoon. And I was going through all the entertainment that we're bringing for the holidays. And I am very happy, proud, and I thank Steve and Atlas PyroVision because they are going to be the sponsor of A Christmas Carol. So we will give another thank you when Steve is on air in a few minutes, but we thank them so much for supporting this very, very special show that we think will make a difference in terms of the quality of entertainment that you're going to be watching at home while we're being kind of forced to be at home. One more thing going on is, let's get this one up, and that is at the end of the month, we are going to have a Park Theater virtual New Year's Eve party. And it will be end of the year entertainment extravaganza. It's a year-end fundraising evening filled with some of your favorite performers from the Monadnock region and beyond. We have some Boston folks there too, and lots of surprises. And so more information, we're just finalizing a lot of the details, but more information will come out about our Park Theater virtual New Year's Eve party next week. And you'll learn all about that. But there's a lot to be learned about that as well. And I also wanted to let you know that if I can find it here in all of my slides, and maybe I can't. Oh, no, there it is. We've been having on Park Pixflix. These are the free movies. We've been showing great holiday films already, and that will continue throughout the month. And starting tomorrow, we have a great short story of Truman Capote's called A Christmas Memory. And this was turned into a film for television in 1966. And it is a beautifully acted. It's Geraldine Page and film with, and again, just a lot of heart and holiday themes of love and togetherness, really, of this young man and his aunt. So that starts free starting tomorrow. And what else? And the last thing that I wanted to let everyone know about was that our annual meeting, which would have been probably tonight if this was a regular year. Let me get rid of that slide. There we go. No, I still got that one up there. Let's get rid of that. And here I am. We would have had our annual party and holiday, get together this evening, but because of COVID, things kind of change everything. But we are going to still have an annual meeting. But what we're going to do is going to be part of our Monadnock Tonight show next week. And Caroline Hollister and myself, and we'll have a few other surprises. We'll talk about the year, how the year has been for us. It's been a monumental year, and you've seen the monumental stuff going on Main Street here, and we'll fill you in on everything. And so that's a week from tonight. But now let's get to our guest for today. He is Stephen Pelkey. And Stephen Pelkey is the CEO and artistic director for the Atlas PyroVision Entertainment Group, based right here in Jaffrey, New Hampshire, based here since 1949. Stephen has been in pyrotech entertainment since the age of 24. He's now entering his 35th year. They have performed all over the world, over 8 countries, competed and won national and international awards in fireworks competitions in Canada, in France, in Spain, in Trinidad, China, Vietnam, Philippines, and of course, the United States. They also own 4 retail fireworks stores in New Hampshire, in Amherst, Belmont, Newport, Ringe. In addition to performing over 600 professional displays annually. Is that amazing? Also, Atlas performs for many indoor and outdoor concerts, theatrical venues, as well as collegiate and professional sports teams, including the Patriots and the New England Revolution. So, with that, and that's enough just to talk about what's in that biography of Steve. Let's bring Steve into the magic of the screen here. 3, 2, 1. Hello, Steve.
How you doing, Steve?
Good. I apologize for some of our early technical, good old broadband internet issues, but we seem to be beyond them now because I see we have folks watching us on both Facebook Live and YouTube Live, so that's good news. One thing I before we get into, and again, going over your biography, there's so much to talk about in there, and there's a lot more that you can talk about that you're involved with. But I think, a lot of us know, they certainly know your company. A lot of people know who you are, but I always like to ask our guests a little bit more about their own personal background, where you grew up. I think we might know the answer to that, and went to school. But if you can tell us a little bit about, your early years, and then talk a little bit about pyrotechnics and how that became something you became interested in.
Well, you kind of gave some of it away with my age.
Oops.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I am. I know that the whoops is on me for giving it away.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you kind of gave my age away when you said I started at 24 and I'm entering my 35th year. So those that are quick in math can quickly find out that I've been in this for a little while. I lived in Jaffrey my entire life. Only recently moved away due to downsizing. We do have a large family. 3 of my daughters, and Barbara has 3 of her daughters, and it was time to downsize, so we moved a little bit north, but certainly our roots and our heart is in Jaffrey and, of course, our business. I attended St. Patrick's School and Conant High School as a child, and after graduation, I attended FPU for about a year. Really couldn't afford it. It was really kind of a difficult time in my life personally, and I enlisted in the Air Force. And believe it or not, is a munition system specialist. And a lot of people think that, is that how I got my background and my training for pyrotechnics? And really, the two could not be further from each other. But ironically, I was involved in munition systems in the Air Force. I was stationed in South Carolina and Okinawa, and I served in the Air Force for about 4.5 years. I returned early in 1986 and began my career with Atlas. My father-in-law at the time, Robert Corpy, asked me if I wanted to help out with the business, and I said, yeah, sure, why not? I can do anything for a few years. Well, that few years turned into 35. Now I have been blessed with being around so many talented employees, family, and they're all a part of our Atlas family at this time. And it's been a true pleasure and delight in my life personally to have brought Atlas and kept it a Jaffrey homegrown business. And we've been successful enough to do a lot of entertaining worldwide. And it's been a great experience.
Well, knowing the type of business that Atlas is in, and I think you certainly described it the way that I've always looked at it in fireworks and in the organizations that put these presentations together. They are entertainment, and the entertainment, and they also, like theaters, the nature of fireworks is you want to commune people together to watch together and go ooh and ah, and so obviously COVID has affected your business model heavily. And if you can give us some insights on how, and when I hear in your bio that you do annually 600 professional displays, I know that number must have been severely affected this year.
Yeah, COVID took its toll on many of us in the live entertainment industry, and of course Atlas was no exception. It was probably in early March where things really started to get ramped up, and everyone really kind of getting the understanding of what was going on with COVID. And as a result, things or municipalities, events just quickly canceled. One, and every day and every week, it was just more and more bad information. Um, we were fortunate in the Atlas company because we are diversified enough that we've got, as you mentioned earlier, 4 retail stores that we service consumers, as well as the professional display industry providing professional fireworks for municipalities for all kinds of celebrations.
Mm.
And then on top of that, we do weddings, and of course we do sporting events. And that in itself was pretty alarming as each week was passing in the spring. And what we have found was that we really had to work collaboratively, not only within our company, but within our industry, in all people in the live entertainment industry, because we were the ones that were probably the most impacted financially. It's not like a lot of other businesses that, had a 20 or 30% reduction in annual revenue, or even restaurants that, had to cut back at 50% revenue or even 25%. Many in live entertainment have had to deal with either 0 or only 10% of income that they would do annually. And so we quickly found ourselves as being an industry that could really take a front seat position in lobbying our U.S. representatives and senators. Our association, the American Pyrotechnics Association, worked aggressively with NIVA, which I'm sure the Park Theater is a part of, the National Independent Venue Association, in really trying to lobby and hear our voice of entertainment. There are over 12 million in live entertainment that are not working. And it's not like some of these other businesses at 25 or 50%. They're down at significantly 90% or more. And our national organization worked aggressively with state representatives, and including here in the state of New Hampshire. We've been very fortunate that Senator Shaheen and Senator Hassan have been really on top of the game, and their staff, and having dialogue with us and staying in contact with us to make sure that we were a part of that conversation that was taking place in D.C. And as a result of that, we've been able to, make sure that we were part of one of those businesses that would achieve either part of the PPP funding or providing employees who were not able to be employed by their employers with the extended unemployment, which is there are both sides to that sword, of course, because in some cases you have employees that were benefiting from the additional funds that were being issued for unemployment, and then you had those companies that were trying to come back and hire people, and frankly, people weren't willing to even work for $15, $17, or $18 per hour because they were making that on unemployment. So
Right.
It was really a difficult summer, and we're really trying to
Well, you provided me today with a public service announcement that you obtained, I think, today, and I think it's worth. Excuse me. I think it's worth to take a look at it, and you'll get. I think people will get a sense again
Yeah, it's a powerful message.
the facts, the facts and figures that come out of this, because you may not. There are many. I mean, there's no industry that wasn't hit, but not to forget about the entertainment industry, which includes members of the fireworks industry. So let's take a look at this. Hold on, and we'll get it going here. Well, I would say that's pretty powerful, pretty effective. Who put that together for the association? Based upon your discussions with the folks in Washington, what do you think the possibility of that $500 million being used, unused being used?
Well, we've had some success going into the fall. However, the dynamic, as we all know, of a national election is really made things extremely difficult and polarized. And now that the election's over, there seems to be a more collegial tone, if you will, and a lot of that is really from the leadership of both parties. This isn't a political or a time to be politicized in any way, shape, or form. And I think a lot of us in small business, live entertainment have stressed that so eloquently over the last few months and so passionately. And we're finally getting, I think, our message resonating with the leadership of both parties. Because it really comes down to the House leadership with Speaker Pelosi and the Senate leadership with Senator McConnell's office and getting Senator Schumer and Representative McCarthy from the GOP side, the minority leader, and really get them to the table to say, you have to do something. And it would almost be blasphemous, if you will, to have them come back after Thanksgiving, which is basically this week. There's a lot of things that they have to, there's a continuing resolution to continue on with the national debt that we have in the budgeting process by December 11th. That may be stalled for a couple of days because there's a lot of rewriting that needs to be done in that. And we're hopeful, and through some of the conversations that have taken place out of the Speaker's office and Senator McConnell's office recently and as of early this morning, that by the time they leave for their Christmas break, that they have to do something.
Yeah.
There's approximately $600 billion still from the original CARES Act that will sunset on December 31st and will be gone and not to be used.
Yeah.
And that money, in addition to approximately $375 billion or so, and I know some of these numbers can be rather staggering, but we couldn't fathom them a lot of talk was going anywhere from the House version at 3.4 trillion to the House version at 1.2 trillion. And now I think with everything that needs to be done immediately, there's about a $900 billion, what they're calling the skinny bill package, that is really emergency relief. And that's going to go to state and local governments at a little, about 150 billion. You have PPP that's badly needed for so many small businesses that really cannot, that were short funded on the EIDL, which is the Emergency Injury Disaster Loan program that was initially supposed to be for loan programs that weren't conventional finance up to $2 million, were cut back to $500,000 or even as low as $150,000 or $75,000. And that's been extremely painful. And to really, for your listeners to understand that a lot of this isn't just aid that isn't granted to these businesses. And for a lot of these businesses, this is coming in the form of a loan. And some of the, for instance, the EIDL loan process, whatever amount that you were awarded for a maximum amount of, say, $500,000, it's a 20-year loan at roughly 3.5%. So it's not a gimme, and it has to be paid back. The PPP is a little different story. The initial businesses that were, small businesses that were awarded the PPP funding for 8 weeks of payroll, and 8 weeks of a portion of that can be used toward rents and utilities. That was only for 8 weeks, because at the beginning of the pandemic and the relief package under the CARES Act was only to, which everyone believed that it was only going to be about an 8 to 10 or 12.
Yeah, no one believed it would be this long.
That no one could fathom that it was going to be 9 months. And asking all of these small businesses that have had to make, like Atlas and many other small businesses, Herculean efforts to reduce their expenses, to make whatever cutbacks necessary and streamline their business operations in order to make it through just to the fall. And as I said before, we were, blessed with the fact that we've got 4 retail stores that we were able to kind of get us through into the fall and then into the winter. But this relief package that should be passed, for the grace of God, for many small businesses, it's a lifeline that it will mean whether or not that they exist in 2021.
Right.
And if
Right.
that gets awarded before the 18th of December, that'll be the lifeline that they need.
Well, let us cross our fingers, and if anybody knows folks in government, let them know. Or if you don't know, there are ways to let their offices know your point of view on this, and don't let that money get just vanish. And but I want to take us for a moment before we get to something very special you're going to talk about in terms of Jaffrey.
Yeah.
You can't interview Steve Pelkey without going and looking at some shots of some of the beauty that he brings to the skylines of the world. And he has brought along some photos, and I would just like to, I think it's a lot of negative stuff. Now we can look at a few very positive things. And Steve, you can describe these when I bring them up. I'm going to get that larger. And that, of course, is the great skyline of?
Yep, City of Boston. And that's our typical display that we do on Labor Day weekend for the waterfront area down there and those businesses. And that's been a staple of Boston over the last 5 years. And in this year, of course, it had to be canceled, postponed until 2021.
Gorgeous, gorgeous. And this is?
That is our winning performance in Montreal in 2012.
That's incredible.
PyroVision in the world competition at LeBron.
And here's another shot of that. A little more purple that time. My
That
goodness,
was our bronze award that we received in 2019 at the International Fireworks Competition at LeBron in Montreal.
Now, for those just thinking of the production value that goes into a show like that, how long does that take to put on a show like that from start to finish?
Well, when you talk about the design concept,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
took
Starting with the
place,
design.
that took place, about 10 months prior.
Yeah,
And you've got to create the soundtrack. You have to create all of the scene elements. There is approximately 300 scenes in each display of an international competition quality show. In those, all of that is done. So all the design work and all of the soundtrack, which the soundtrack in itself took well over 60 hours of listening to all different kinds of tracks and making sure the right edits and the right cuts, and make sure that it seamlessly wrote into one part or segment of the musical score that you were trying to do. And then we just kind of push forward. And then you've got to create this product, because you may want magenta shells or aqua shells or white strobe, orange strobe, red strobe, different patterns, different scenes to those patterns. So it's really an aggressive design. And of course, you've got to get the products in. You've got to label each and every shell. And some of these, there are 13, 14,000 devices that
right.
have to be each labeled with their own address on where it goes and the angle and the position of on the entire site.
Here, I have a history question for you,
Sure.
because certainly growing up as a kid, when I was a kid, I don't remember the soundtrack. When did soundtracks start to be kind of the standard? I mean, obviously some do them a lot better than others, but there must have been a moment where you guys could figure out how to sync up a soundtrack to the shells. And because I don't remember it growing up in the 60s. I don't remember music playing simultaneously on July 4th. It was just a lot of look up and ah, and now you always get a soundtrack.
Yeah, it is certainly metamorphosed itself over the years, but I would say it was in the mid 70s when
Yeah.
the nation turned 200 in 1976. You had what was probably the first of what was better known as tempo firing. You had shells that would be, in reality, it was a lot more work and a lot more difficult, but all of the synchronization was really a tempo fire. When something said rockets, red glare, you shot red shells. When it said bombs
Yeah.
bursting in air, you just shot shells with reports. So you use, and the level of the audience expectation for that type of entertainment was a lot gentler than it is today. They're
Yeah.
much more critical today because they're accustomed to seeing real precision. And then
Yeah.
it was probably in the mid 80s where you got out of the tempo firing, and then you had a couple of companies that started to create some of these software elements that would basically allow you to create a database of all these kinds of shells that would have pre-fire times. And pre-fire times are basically from ignition to actual visual effect into the sky. How long is that? Is that 3.25 seconds? Is that 3.75 seconds or 4.2 seconds or whatever it is? You have a database, and that was accurate probably within about a quarter of a second.
Mm.
And then as time went on, these software programs got much more creative and just much more technical, to the point in which right after the millennium, where you could really get into 3D and even 4D animation,
Yeah.
and be able to craft and create whatever it is that you're going to visually do into the sky and make those adjustments accordingly based on the software program. But
Well, it's
years and years to really kind of master some of these software programs. And then the collaborative effort that we as designers had with the software companies in being able to tweak everything in such a way that it really dialed it in, and now we can get within 1/100th of a second within precision.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you see it. I mean, these shows only get better. They only get better year after year, and certainly yours. I think anyone locally, but you don't have to be local to know your work. Considering where you're there, you don't have any geographic barriers. You go wherever you can. Let me. I'm going to slip. We're with our time. I want to make sure I get in the project that you're working on right now. I'm going to bring up the graphic for it.
Okay.
And there it is. Tell us about what's going on with this very special event happening in a couple of years.
Well,
3 years.
we naturally we're accustomed to planning and promoting events throughout New England, and of course our hometown is no exception. And you know, as a kid, I remember the bicentennial in 1973, when I remember all of the Ernie Noward and Bill Gibbons and A.C. Hartwell and Ernie Noward and Stan Wilson. You know, they would line up on Main Street and they grew their beards and they had to shave their beards because they had the contest on who had the best appearance for a beard, mustache, and so forth. And it was just all those fun times. And we had the Jubilee Parade that was a part of it, and all kinds of community events. So when we brought, similar to the Millennium Year, we kind of went to the town and said, hey, we really need to start planning for this, because if we're going to do this, and the town has put together an organizing committee, and I'm one of 8 others currently on the organizing committee. And my daughter, who Sarah Bergeron, who I'm blessed to have as part of the committee, and there's Bruce Hill, and forgive me if I miss anybody, Bruce Hill and Peter Lambert, Stephanie Porter, Cynthia Hamilton, then there's John Frederick, town manager for Jaffrey, David Chamberlain, who is our fire chief, our police chief, currently, Todd Muhlenberg. And right now we're just working on doing all the organizational things. And that's, developing and designing the website, making sure that we have a social media presence. You can follow us on our website at jaffrey250.com. We also have our website, Jaffrey250. We currently have an online store, because part of this is a lot of it is fundraising, and
Right.
that's why we're starting a few years ahead of time.
That's smart.
Because we need to really kind of develop that, because we want as many of the community events that we have to be free, and a part of the celebration. We don't want this to be we want very few events that are paid for events. Naturally, some of them you have to do, like a golf tournament or event that you're going to do, or the gala or something like that. But we have parades and concerts and other community functions and celebrations that we're going to be organizing, and it's important that we include all that. We want to include even the youth. Later this week, I believe tomorrow or sometime this weekend, we're trying to get the youth involved in discussing with that. So we're going to have a coloring contest for that. We'll notify everybody on our Facebook page, Jaffrey250, and you basically just download the PDF and color it, scan it, send it in, and then we let the public vote on their favorite by likes and social media right after the first of the year. And it should be it's just a fun occasion. It's something that, all of us that have been in business in our community all of our lives, this is our opportunity to give back and to really kind of celebrate everything that makes Jaffrey Jaffrey. And,
well, I know that the theater will be intimately involved in the activities, as I've seen in historic photos, that the theater was always involved, because the parade going right down the street and other activities that Romulo Vanni was always involved in when he was around, and subsequent owners of the theater. So we will be with you on that. I'm just going to end.
I do have to tell you, Steve, a funny story.
Yeah.
Naturally, because I grew up in Jaffrey and I walked to St. Patrick's School every day and walking home. And when I was a young kid, I was probably in first or second grade. I remember walking by at the time the theater, which was owned by the Sawyer family, David Sawyer, and I could see always in that marquee in there, they had the big poster in there of the owl and the pussycat. And I can remember going, I couldn't wait. I said, "Oh, that really looks like a neat movie. Sounds like a lot of fun." Then I went home and I told my mom. I said, "Mom, I think we want to go see this movie. It really looks cute. It's got an owl, it's got a cat, and it sounds like it's really good." And my mother just looked at me and she says, "No, son, we are not going to go see that movie." And so that was my only negative I've had with the Park Theater, with not being able to see it perform.
Obviously, it has stayed with you for many years. So that was, I would say, there was some trauma there in that decision. Quickly, if you can tell us, as we're running on our time here, but tell us anything special going on for Atlas as you start to plan out 2021.
Yeah, 2021 is basically, if we were to take all the special celebrations, which there are many that were taking place in 2020, have been basically postponed until 2021. Our biggest and largest event is Provincetown and Plymouth, Mass. Were the first in New England to turn 400 years. And they've had 7 or 8 years of really a lot of intensive planning. And we have a few major pyrotechnic performances to do in both Provincetown and Plymouth, Massachusetts. In addition to that, there are several communities, including that are having 250th celebrations. Cohasset, Massachusetts, 250th celebration. Not a lot of years, but for the Falmouth community, which is probably the largest display in Cape Cod, we're going to be celebrating their 40th fireworks 4th of July in 2020, and that's now postponed until 2021. But we're hoping to be able to do at least 70 or 75% of our work that we would normally do in 2020 and 2021. But some of it is going to be, getting through the COVID pandemic and getting everyone back in line.
Yeah, as we get a new sea legs in 2021 to figure out where we are exactly. But we'll, every 2 weeks more, every month in, we'll get a better idea. And after the vaccines are out there, of where we really stand.
Sure.
I want to thank you, Steve, so much for being with us today and sharing information about about Atlas, about you, about the legislation that you're working on, about the 250, and just about the brilliance of the entertainment and the creativity that you bring to the skies everywhere. And thank you very much for that. And then I must thank you again for becoming today the sponsor of Jefferson Mays in his one-man show that we're going to be presenting of A Christmas Carol starting very soon for the rest of the month. I can't thank you enough. Everyone at the Park Theater thanks you for being the sponsor of this brilliant production, and that is so kind. And it's not the only support that Atlas has always supported the Park Theater. And once again, they step forward and help us, and we really thank you.
Thank you. It's our pleasure.
All righty. All the best to you. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to you.
Same to you. All right. Well, that we want to see their brilliance in the sky again, and so hopefully when things will get better and better as we move into 2021 with the vaccines. But again, as we've so many times have presented so many people from so many different industries that have been affected in similar but different ways, and certainly this one, when we're a little closer to us because it's in the entertainment area. We understand and have empathy for how it can be so debilitating within this one industry. So, what do I have to tell you as we're closing the show up? Next week, as I mentioned earlier in the show, we have our annual meeting a week from tonight at 5 p.m. Join Caroline Hollister and myself and maybe some other special guests as we take a look back on the past year and a little look forward into the coming year. I will also tell you that the week after that, on December 17th, our good friends over at Project Shakespeare are going to be presenting their own production of A Christmas Carol, as they have done for many years. And this one is being very uniquely produced. It's in the editing stages right now, but it's been produced from, and that the beauty of zooming and getting content from all over the world. It's been produced from all over the world and locations right here: the Hancock Inn, the Aldworth Manor, Jaffrey Center. So Project Shakespeare, Deborah Thurber, and Christopher Commander and Wendy, and we're going to have those guys talking about it, and so that you tune in Christmas Eve and watch this wonderful production that they have developed for everyone. And as I said to Deborah earlier today, I'm hoping that their next A Christmas Carol, we'll be presenting it at one of our stages here at the Park Theater. So with that, let me say, as always, if you have a question or you would like to be a sponsor of the program, Monadnock Tonight, please send us an email at parktv@theparktheater.org or call us here at the office at 532-9300, 532-9300. And as we have said since we began this show, we ask everyone to ask themselves and ask others to be safe, be healthy, always be kind, be hopeful, because we are and we can do this. And so, again, this is Steve Jackson. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thanking our guest again, Steve Pelkey. Thank you so much for being a guest and for being a continued supporter of the Park Theater and all of our efforts. So until next week, but stay tuned to Facebook for lots of information on all of our entertainment offerings that are coming over the next several weeks. And there are lots of them, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show. So stay tuned to your email. And if you're not on our email, go to theparktheater.org, get onto our email list. Otherwise, look at Facebook and you'll see what's going on, because there's always something entertaining going on at the Park Theater. Good night, and we'll see you soon.